Amandla
Awethu
wayibuye
iAfrika
iAfrika
ayibuye.
Comrades, friends, colleagues, we are gathered here today under very abnormal circumstances, which have actually compelled us to take very abnormal responses to this. Cecil John Rhodes has fallen in London. Cecil John Rhodes fell in Cape Town in 2015. And what was important is that other colonizers, such as King Leopold, fell in Brussels. Other slave traders also fell in Brussels, such as Robert Milligan and also Edward Cobbin. Are we just going to stand by and provide refuge for Rhodes in the city of Kimberley, where he actually left his footprint of colonialism and imperialism? Are we going to do that? No. Now let me tell you a little bit, just a little bit about Cecil John Rhodes. Cecil John Rhodes was an imperialist mining magnate of the 19th century. He was actually very central in the British colonial project in Southern African region, not just only here in Kimberley, but in the Southern African region. In Kimberley, he founded Diamond De Beers, the diamond mines here in De Beers. And what we know about this is that he used cheap labor to work in the diamond fields. And most of this cheap labor came from the indigenous people of this region and other migrant laborers. Now, Cecil John Rhodes' founding principles were underpinned by his beliefs that the white British man was superior above all races. Now, what is very interesting is that although we understand that apartheid started in 1948, but Cecil John Rhodes was a precursor of what we know as the Land Natives Act. And he was also the one who institutionalized the Glen Grey Act of 1894 when he was Prime Minister of the Cape Colony in 1894. Now, in his speech, I want to quote something very interesting about his racist and apartheid policy that he wanted to drive through the Glen Grey Act. He said, I quote, "What I would like in regard to a native area is that there should be no white man in the midst of natives. I hold that the natives should be apart from white men and not mixed up with natives. The government looks upon them, the natives, as living in a native reserve and desires to make the transfer and alienation of land as simple as possible. We, regarding his government, will fail utterly when we put natives on an equal footing with ourselves as the white men." Now, what is very interesting is that he said this during the time when the Jim Crow laws were starting to be established in the United States of America, which gave birth to the segregative policies that we see in the early 1900s. Then I shall ask you again, are we supposed to provide refuge to this man? I say no.
No.
It's now 2020. Black people find themselves drifting in a plight of a pandemic that is worsened by the appalling material conditions born out of slavery, colonialism, and apartheid, including racism. These are the material conditions that people like Rhodes actually designed and reinforced and profited from the sustained colossal mining wealth up to now. we cannot be silent. Because if we are silent, it means that we are complicit and we endorse these values. This monument, it offensively represents the reasons why Black people today continue to die in poverty, deprivation, and marginalization. The colonial symbol of this monument, what I find it very interesting is that it still represents this gigantic ideas of oppression, of domination, and also the culture of white supremacy. Seeing a man sitting on a horse, looking at this town as though he has conquered these natives. That's the language that we are seeing on that statue. Therefore, we reiterate that it's long overdue. It's time for the city of Salt Lake to remove Rhodes from Kimberley and discontinue the narrative of his misplaced glorification. We are here to wage a poetic justice by reciting anti-colonial, anti-apartheid, and anti-racism poetry and literature. We are actually using public symbols such as these photographs of fallen heroes and heroines who were social and political activists to send this message. We are saying that it is about time for Rhodes to leave Kimberley. And one of Rhodes's arch enemies, Olive Schreiner, on the other side, spoke against the beliefs that Rhodes held as a white woman in the 1800s. She is part of that. That's why we also have images of other white and Indian and colored activists who were part of this journey of anti-colonization. So here today we are saying Rhodes must fall. Now. Amandla! Amandla! Before I give over to the poets and those who are going to read and pass messages of solidarity, I would like us to just take 5 minutes to give a moment of silence on behalf of those who actually fell under racism, colonialism, and apartheid brutality. And onto the now present day, where we have seen George Floyd suffering brutality in the United States of America. And we must also pay this tribute to Collins Khoza, and not to mention, not to forget, Tseho Bule, who was also a victim of gender-based violence. Can we please take that moment, just 5 minutes of silence?